The big, beautiful bill makes the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act permanent, but there are some changes to the treatment of research and development. Roger McEowen with the Washburn School of Law joins us now with a closer look. Always good to visit with you, Roger. So how exactly does this provision address the R&D tax credit and the R&E expenditures?
Well, good morning, Tammy. Good to be with you. Under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the R&D tax credit and the rule for handling research and expenditure expenses, effective starting for tax years after 2021, basically a business could no longer currently deduct those expenses. And so therefore it delayed the use of the credit. You had to capitalize those expenses and amortize them over 5 years. Now, instead of making this part of TCJA permanent, what the OBBBA does is say that we're going to go back to the prior TCJA law and allow for current deductibility. And they put in there a transition rule which allows you to go back and catch 22, 23, and 24. And that's the real big point of this one. We can go back and file amended returns, and if we've got qualified research expenses, we can currently deduct those.
Interesting. So what does this change mean for farm businesses?
Well, if a farm can meet the test, and it has to be a qualified farm business, that means your average gross revenues over the past 3 years are $31 million or less. So a lot of our farm businesses are going to qualify for that. And you meet the test to have under the code to have qualified research expenditures, meaning I've got a process of experimentation. And then the associated costs with respect to that, any wages that I'm paying my employees, any contractor fees, any associated expenses associated with putting those tests together, maybe to try to come up with higher yields or to reduce fertilizer costs, then I can get a current deduction for that.
So you got any specific examples?
Yeah, for instance, what a farm needs to do here, this is a complex procedure, but you're going to have to track your average gross receipts to make sure you're even eligible to do this. If so, then you track your qualified research expenditures. Again, that's going to be your wages for labor, that's going to be your supplies for testing and contractor fees, for instance. And then you determine your taxable income, your tax liability, and then how much of the credit is available. So it's a complex process, and you can't do this by yourself. Or you shouldn't, I should say that.
Yeah, it does sound complex. Any additional elements of these provisions that farmers need to keep in mind?
Well, again, I think probably the biggest one is to make sure you get really good tax advice and be wary of the promoters that are out there. They're going to jump all over this. I've already been contacted by CPAs across the country that said that the promoters have contacted their farm clients saying, hey, you need to file amended returns to do this. That's true, you do. But because of what the promoters have done in the past, this technique, this credit has made the IRS dirty dozen tax scam list largely because of these promoters' conduct. So again, I go back to what I said earlier, get good tax advice. This can provide a nice tax benefit to farmers that are eligible, that are doing scientific experimentation on their farms the way the code requires it, then that can lead to a nice tax credit.
That's Roger McEowen with the Washburn School of Law. Appreciate your time and information today.